The sprint retrospective is a very important ceremony that the team has to do on their journey to become agile. And they do this ceremony typically once every sprint. Now, the sprint retrospective is that event that is typically facilitated by the Scrum Master. He gets the team together and say, whew, we've done spent time basically going through the work every day through our daily scrum. We have done backlog refinements to be sure that our work for the subsequent sprint has been aligned. We have done sprint planning to make sure that we planned this sprint and we committed to certain work items, which at this point we showed after completion during the sprint review to our stakeholders. Now, we want to reflect. The word retrospective is a combination of two words, retro and spective. In English, it's called a portmanteau. Retro looking back, and then spective looking back with perspective. So the Scrum Master is facilitating that session to say, looking back at the just completed sprint or iteration, how do you guys feel? So the Scrum Master pulls up a board, typically 3 columns or in some cases 4, where he says what went well in one column, what didn't go well in another column, and what would you like us to improve, right? And then action items, meaning the outcome is you should be able to get action items that the team can implement. You as a Scrum Master, you are ensuring that the action item goes back into the product backlog and is an improvement that needs to be implemented within the team. It's part of their continuous improvement. So, going back to the conversation, the Scrum Master, facilitates the conversation. Typically, I would start with, so what went well, to give people, that good feeling as they get started. So they talk about, oh, I like this. I like the fact that it was closer collaboration with other teams, other dependent teams. I like the fact that the stakeholder actually liked the application. I like the fact that we had free lunch during this sprint. I like the fact that we were able to meet in person while we were developing during one of our coding hours or code days. Or I like the fact that we had a no meeting Tuesday, where we were able to focus basically on our work. Whatever works well, the team is going to express themselves. And when they do, as a Scrum Master, you are, putting that in that conversation. What that means is during the retrospective, you give them a link to the board, and they are putting what went well, on the board. Typing this in stickies, or if they are in person, writing this on stickies and going to paste it on the section or on the area on the column called what went well. And after that, what didn't go well? Thank you very much for all of this feedback. What do you think didn't go well that you'd like us to improve? Well, the team would think back for a little bit and then share. Hey, I like us to improve this. I like us to improve this. So they share what they think didn't go well in the last sprint. And so this process, after they have gone through this is what I like to refer to as the meat of the entire conversation. The Scrum Master wants to dig into each of those issues and figure out how we can solve for them, which is the actionable next steps. So, as an example, well, as a team, we tried to get access to, let's say, a certain code base, and we couldn't because we didn't have the admin privilege to do so. And this took a lot of time because we had to go back and forth with the development, with the DevOps folks, and before we were able to get the access we need, losing valuable time that should have been spent coding and building the application. Maybe as an example. Okay, the Scrum Master wants to understand that problem, get the team to align on, is this really a problem? And if it's a problem, the key question is, what is the actionable next steps? What can we do to resolve this going forward? And the team would suggest, well, it's good that we maybe create that access by default so that each developer who is on the project should have read and write access to this area of the database, as an example, so that we do not have to go through that process of when we want to write or make changes with respect to this area of the database, we have to go through hoops and loops to be able to do so. So, I'm as an example. So that becomes an action item. Well, the action item for the Scrum Master is how do we set up a system where the teams will typically have this access as they are onboarded on this team, so that subsequently this does not have to become like a bottleneck in their productivity. And he or she follows up subsequently. So, you see, it is an event where the team really express themselves on what they would like to see change moving forward, and they communicate that to the Scrum Master, who takes care of how do we incorporate this in subsequent iterations, and how would you track this so that you can get back to the team to say, hey, I know you raised this impediment previously. This is how far I have tried to resolve this impediment. This is what I'm doing. So in the next sprint, the Scrum Master should be ready to share the status of that impediment that he or she is working on, each of those impediments and where they are, so that the team can have faith in the process and believe that the Scrum Master is not just there to just listen, take those feedback and do nothing about it, but then take the feedback of some of the pain points and frustration of the team, figure out a solution, get back to the team and discuss the solution and the implementation of that solution with the team. So basically, it's a very important event where the team look for opportunities to continuously improve. The outcome of the retrospective is actionable action items that the Scrum Master can work on behalf of the team in subsequent iterations. That is a retrospective. There are a couple of very interesting tools for doing so, and techniques. Some people use the sailboat method. Some people use, the 5 whys, technique. Some people use different techniques basically for retrospecting. Whatever works for you as a team, I'd like you to explore. There are hundreds of techniques out there. But again, the idea as a Scrum Master is to keep it fresh, keep it interesting, so that the team can look forward to subsequent retrospectives because they feel safe to express themselves, because they like being there, and because it's fun.